This costs about $2. The exterminator who wants $300 from you does not want you to see this. A single pest control visit for rodents runs $200 to $400. And that's if they even get all of them. Rats breed every 3 weeks, so if the technician misses the nest, you're paying that bill again next month. Meanwhile, the traps you already own from the hardware store, rats are smart enough to avoid anything that looks or smells like a trap after the first one gets caught. You're not fighting one rat. You're fighting a species that's been outsmarting humans for 10,000 years. Before we get into the fix, let's talk about why the stuff you've probably already tried didn't work, because understanding that is what makes this method make sense. Snap traps only catch what walks directly into them, and after the first snap, every rat in the area learns to route around it. Rats communicate danger through scent markers, so one dead rat in a trap can make the rest of the colony avoid that entire section of the wall. Glue traps are worse. They only catch the weakest, youngest rats. The strong ones just pull free, and they're genuinely unpleasant to deal with. And those ultrasonic plug-in repellers you see advertised everywhere? Rats adapt to consistent sound within about 72 hours. It stops working almost immediately. They just learn to tune it out like traffic noise. Quick gut check before we go further. Make sure you're actually dealing with rats and not mice, because the fix is different. Rat droppings are about the size of a grain of rice, dark, and pointed at both ends. Mouse droppings are smaller, more like a grain of black pepper. If you're hearing scratching in the walls at night, that sounds heavier, almost like footsteps. That's rats. Mice sound lighter and faster. This method works on both, but if it's mice, you'll want smaller bait balls, about the size of a pea instead of a marble. Here's what actually works, and it's not poison, so it's safer to have around if you've got pets or kids in the house. Mix plaster of Paris with flour, roughly equal parts, then stir in a spoonful of sugar or cocoa powder. That's what gets rats interested in the first place. Since plaster alone has no smell that would draw them in, add just enough water to bring it together into a workable dough. Not soupy, more like cookie dough consistency. Roll the mixture into small balls, about the size of a marble, and let them air dry for a few hours before placing them. You want the outside slightly hardened so it holds together when they carry it off, which they will. Here's the science behind why this works. Plaster of Paris hardens when it hits liquid. Once a rat eats it and then drinks water, like they always do afterward, the plaster sets inside them the same way it would in a mixing bowl. Their body can't process or expel it. That's different from poison bait, which just makes them sick and cautious after one exposure. This method doesn't teach them to avoid it because there's no smell or taste warning them off, and there's no delayed sickness that lets them associate the bait with danger. A pet or child would need to eat a genuinely large amount of dry plaster powder for it to be a real concern, and it doesn't carry the greasy, sweet smell that makes cats and dogs go after peanut butter-based traps in the first place. Now, here's where most people mess this up, and it's worth slowing down for. Mistake 1, using too much water, which makes balls that fall apart before a rat even finds them. Mistake 2, skipping the sugar or cocoa, which means the bait just smells like a rock to a rat. They won't touch something with no scent, no matter how well hidden it is. Mistake 3, and this is the big one, placing bait out in the open where you can see it. Rats are cautious around open spaces because that's where predators catch them. They want cover. If your bait ball is sitting in the middle of the garage floor, it'll sit there untouched for a week. Placement matters as much as the mixture. Put these balls anywhere you've seen droppings. Along walls, behind appliances, in the garage, near baseboards, inside cabinets where pipes run through the wall. Rats travel the same paths every single night, hugging walls and corners, so you're placing this exactly where they already walk, not guessing. If you have a shed or garage, check along the bottom of shelving. Units, that's a favorite spot. Space your bait balls every 6 to 8 feet along a suspected path, rather than clustering them all in one spot. You want to catch them wherever they are, not force them to travel further than they're willing to. Most people see activity stop within 3 to 5 days. If you're still seeing droppings after a week, you probably missed their main path. Go back and look for disturbed insulation or grease marks along a wall. Rats have oily fur, so the path they use most gets a dark, smudged look over time. That's the highway they've actually been using, and that's where the balls need to go. One more thing that makes this even more effective, and honestly, it matters just as much as the bait itself. Seal the entry point once they're gone. Steel wool stuffed into any gap smaller than a quarter costs about $1, and rats can't chew through it the way they can chew through caulk or spray foam, since their teeth just can't get purchase on the fibers. Check around where pipes and wires enter the house. That's the #1 overlooked entry point. Without this step, you're just clearing out one generation before the next one finds the exact same hole and moves in. If you want to go one step further, keep any pet food and bird seed in sealed containers rather than the bag they came in. An open bag of dry food is basically a welcome sign, and it's one of the most common reasons a house that's been rat-free for years suddenly has a problem again. Now, I know this sounds too simple to actually beat something exterminators charge hundreds of dollars for, but most of what you're paying for in that visit is the exact same bait method you could have built yourself for $2. You're not paying for a secret formula. You're paying for someone else's 15 minutes. And if you're wondering whether this is humane, compared to a snap trap or a glue trap, this is actually considered one of the gentler methods, since there's no injury involved at all. If this just saved you a $300 phone call, that's exactly why I made this video. Subscribe if you want more of these. And if you've got a pest problem I haven't covered yet, tell me in the comments and I'll make it the next one.